Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'd like to welcome and introduce again Dr. Robert Murphy, Executive Director of the Robert J. Havey, MD, Institute for Global Health and the John Philip Fair Professor of Infectious Diseases here at Northwestern Feinberg School of Medicine, who continues to answer your COVID questions every Tuesday and Thursday here on the Havey Institute for Global Health Facebook page. And today, Dr. Murphy will be answering viewer-submitted questions that we've received today through the 7th of October. And we invite you to continue to submit your questions to us via Facebook at NU Institute for Global Health or via email at globalhealthinstitute@northwestern.edu. And leading the discussion again today is the Institute's Student Research Assistant, Sophie Buskowski. So Sophie, I now turn it over to you.
Thank you, Christian. Good morning, Dr. Murphy.
Morning.
So for some updated COVID statistics, here in Illinois, fortunately, the cases continue to decrease with under 3,000 cases per day on average, which has continued to be a decline over the last 14 days. We are also seeing an increase in vaccination rate slowly to almost 54% of the population fully vaccinated in Illinois. In Florida and in Texas, we are also seeing a decrease in cases, with Florida having less than 5,000 cases per day with a 53% decline in the last 14 days, which is awesome. In Alaska, there is still a spike with 921 cases yesterday. Although the spike is decreasing, it is still there. And here in the United States, we are continuing to see a decrease in cases, and there is now an average case of 101,000 cases per day, which has been a huge decrease over the last 14 days. What can you tell us about these decreases in cases now that we are entering into a colder season?
Yeah, no, this is great, and this is predictable because it appears we have these 2-month waves, and so we're on the downslope of the wave. Even in Alaska, which is lagging behind continental United States, their increase is decreasing. So all going in the right direction, and the number of cases in the United States on October 5th was less than 100,000. So we got to get that down a lot further, but it's going in the right direction.
Absolutely. And now for some headlines. California is becoming the first US state to require COVID vaccinations for students. What can you tell us about this mandate?
Well, California has taken a very bold position, and Governor Newsom was severely criticized for this. They tried to recall him from the governorship. California has a little bit different rules in how you can remove a sitting governor. So he faced election again. And if he did not get 50% of the vote, he would have no longer been governor. And then the next person who who also had less than 50% became governor. It's a little bit crazy out in California. Anyhow, he won. He had a deciding victory. I mean, over 60%. So the gloves are off. They're going to do what they have to do to get this epidemic under control. He's not worried about getting recalled again because his election on the recall was overwhelming. And one of his features of his campaign was, we're going to put mandates in basically all over the place. And remember, the pools of unvaccinated people, which is the adults who just have not taken the vaccine for whatever reason, and the children who are not eligible to take the vaccine. So now we have vaccines eligible down to 12 years of age, and they're going to be mandated for the next term in California. So presumably in January 2022. Pfizer, as you mentioned, has submitted their data for approval in the 4 to 11 group. They submitted that to the FDA, or the press release was this morning. And that will likely take a month or so to go through the whole approval process, the review, the FDA advisory committee meeting, the CDC advisory committee meeting, and then some recommendation. But that could be a month approximately, depending how the data look, and if the FDA or CDC wants to look at any more data that they have. So when that happens, then basically all school kids will be mandated for vaccines. So they predict, the California group predicts that by next September, at the beginning of the next school year, everybody in school will have to be vaccinated. And other states are going to take the same position.
Right. Hopefully more states will do that, and this will help.
Yeah, because this will get a pool of very high risk people, and it will really help control the epidemic.
Right. Well, the FDA is now saying that rapid tests are going to become more widely available. What can you tell us about this stopping the spread of the pandemic?
Yeah, I mean, the more testing, the easier you can have access to the tests, the cheaper the tests, or if the government buys them and gives them away for free, the better, because you can get people who are infectious out of the system so that they don't keep spreading the virus. And these rapid tests, although they're not as good as PCR, they only take 15 minutes. And if you do a couple of them in a row, the results become just as good as the PCR tests. So Acon Laboratories, they plan on producing more than 100 million tests per month, and this could even go to 200 million tests per month by February of 2022. And so, schools now can have, thousands of these tests sitting around. They can, if they have an outbreak, they can just start testing everybody. It's really going to be a good thing. The US government has supported the development and 100 companies in helping them get their tests to market, and many of them have gotten to the market. They're not all home purchase tests, like you can buy in the pharmacy. So, but they may be tests that can be done in a clinic or hospital or doctor's office, something like that. So that we call CLIA waived. In other words, it doesn't have a lot of them don't have to have like a high level technical person doing it. It can be a person that's just trained to run the equipment. So there's a lot of that coming out, and this shortage of tests is soon to be over.
That's awesome. And lastly, Los Angeles will require proof of vaccination for indoor restaurants, gyms, theaters, etc. What can you tell us about Los Angeles trying to stop the spread?
Well, like I said, California has taken a very strong position, and they want to stop this epidemic. And this has been done in other countries around the world, particularly in Western Europe. And in France, you can't go inside a restaurant without proof of vaccine. You can sit outside, but you can't go in. And this is going to be happening more and more and more. So if you travel, you have to go to California for something. You have not been vaccinated, you're from Florida or Texas, someplace where not too many people are vaccinated, you're going to have trouble you're going to have your food delivered.
Yeah. And for some viewer questions, this individual is fully vaccinated with 2 Pfizer shots and would like to know if attending the movie theater is safe. What can you tell us about this?
Well, it's just a question of risk. If you're a high-risk person, you have an underlying cancer, or there's organ transplant or some immune suppressive condition, it's probably not a good idea. Now, if you're vaccinated and you wear a mask and you have no underlying health issues, that's your own personal decision. There's no law against that. There's no guideline against it, but it does put you at a slight increase in risk. And so it becomes a personal decision, and there's no reason for a doctor to get in the middle of that personal decision, as long as you've been informed of the risk.
Great. This individual would like to know if they had gotten the booster shot now, will it start to decrease after 4 months like the other vaccines have? And will this occur that we will need a vaccine or a booster shot every 6 months? What can you tell us about the decrease in immunity of the vaccines?
Well, this is a great question, and we do not know what's going to happen. So there are a couple things could happen. One is that your body has already been exposed to the vaccine with or without having COVID before. And this booster will jack up that immunologic response. Now, that increase from the vaccine-produced immunologic response might be, so high that and pronounced that it lasts way more than 4 months. Maybe it could even last a year. Some people even think, well, maybe it could be several years. We don't know. But this is a very good question that will be answered when the data become available.
Well, following with this question, as the third question is rather similar, if the effect of the vaccine declines after 4 months and the second vaccination with this individual was in March for Moderna, should they wait until the Moderna booster is available and approved?
Yeah.
If the Pfizer is available right now?
Yeah, they should just wait for the Moderna approval. It's going to be any week now. And just stick with what you started with. They are doing studies with mix and matching. But there's been inconclusive results, whether that's beneficial. There are a few more side effects when you mix and match. That was reported from the United Kingdom. Right now, for the regular booster, don't mix and match. For the immunocompromised patients like kidney transplant patients and people on high-dose steroids, they have a different kind of approval, and they can get their third shot. They don't have to wait a long time to get that third shot. They can just get it. It's the regular just dose, and it's sort of not considered a booster. It's considered just an enhancement of the 2 doses they already had that probably are not working. See, these people they couldn't even be in the clinical studies. They're not allowed to be in the studies because everybody knows that they're going to have a poor response. But it's been shown that with multiple doses, they can mount a lot of them can mount a response. And in that case, they said with the mRNA vaccines, Moderna and Pfizer, that try to get the one you started with, but if you can't, take the other one. It's just so important for those people to get the extra third shot. So in that case, there's some mix and matching, but in the regular booster, where just everybody's getting it at 6 months, get the same one that you started with.
Awesome.
For now.
This individual's family member will be visiting from Scotland for Thanksgiving. This individual is vaccinated. Should he get tested when he gets here to the United States, and should they still wear a mask around him?
Well, just to get here, even if you're a US citizen, you have to have a negative PCR test within 3 days of departing. And this is true for us going abroad too. I mean, it's the same thing, coming in and out. Can't even go to Canada without this. So once you get here, you have to take within 3 to 5 days yet another test. It's less specific what test. Maybe you can get one of those rapid tests, and you have to have that as well. So if that test is negative, then it's safe to be around the person without a mask.
Awesome. And this individual would like to know if there's been a side effect with the vaccine and with COVID with tinnitus. What can you tell us about that?
Tinnitus is a rare side effect, but it's real. There's a lot of neurologic side effects with COVID and with the vaccine. Both of them have a lot of side effects, neurologic side effects. So it's pretty uncommon, but in one study done in the United Kingdom, up to 6.6% of patients that were hospitalized, so they had severe COVID. So it's not 6.6% of everybody, but that they had tinnitus. And in the United States, it's estimated that it's less than 1%. So it can happen, as are other neurologic conditions, but also with COVID. COVID can do really the same thing. So it's a unfortunate, relatively mild side effect that presumably, hopefully, will get better over time.
And with the follow-up, this individual has type 1 diabetes. Could this have any connection to the tinnitus being a side effect of the vaccine or of getting COVID?
No, the diabetes is a risk factor for having severe COVID. And that's the main concern there. So diabetics, people with other underlying chronic medical diseases can have worse COVID. So, but it's just it's a risk for disease progression.
Absolutely. And lastly, should this individual or anyone in general be getting tested for antibodies prior to getting their booster shot?
No, it's not going to make any difference. There's a couple things going on here. One is that the antibodies that you get, that you can test commercially, are not necessarily predictive of your immune status or your immune protection. So they don't really help. If you don't have them, you get the vaccine, you should develop them, but you're only going to get them to the spike protein, not the whole virus, other parts of the virus. So it really doesn't help you to check your antibody level. It's just basically a waste of time. It's the wrong antibody. There are good antibodies to test to see if you're immunologically protected, but they're very specific antibodies. They're only done basically in research labs. They're not approved for commercial sale, and the laboratories are not standardized. So you basically you don't have access to them.
Right. Well, this individual is a fully vaccinated 65-year-old with high blood pressure. This individual is awaiting their Moderna booster and would like to attend a gathering in which there will be 5 to 6 children under the age of 5 and an individual who's unvaccinated but tests weekly. This is an adult who's unvaccinated. Should this individual attend this event and gathering, and is it safe to attend it?
Unfortunately, being over 65 is a risk. Having high blood pressure presumably also is a risk. That this person is talking about going to an event where there's unvaccinated children around and even an unvaccinated adult or two, coming from a state with a lot of COVID. So it's really, it's a personal decision, but you have to weigh the risk benefit. In this case, I think the risk is not worth it. It's very sad to miss events like a christening or a wedding or birthday or anniversary celebration, but this is a high-risk person and this is a relatively high-risk event. So I would say no.
All right, thank you. And lastly, DARPA. And what is DARPA, and are they creating a vaccine, and what role have they had during the pandemic?
So yeah, we had this question about the DARPA vaccine. So DARPA is the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, and they're basically a funding agency that works very closely with the Department of Defense, and they have a lot of programs focused on diagnosis, treatment, detection, manufacturing, and the like. And they have supported some of the many companies that have developed vaccines. So people have gotten money on the research side and on the manufacturing side through DARPA. If one of the agencies that DARPA is supporting is in favor of that. So DARPA is the mechanism to get the money out the door.
So they are not creating
Not
a
actually vaccine manufacturer. Yeah.
Right. Got it. Well, those are all of our questions. Thank you, Dr. Murphy.
All right. Thank you. And see you next Tuesday.